Ever evolving is a good way of putting it. I mean, this has been a absolute calamity circus with the quarterback situation all year for the Jets, and this is just the latest so far. Now, as of this afternoon, I was at the facility. We in the media only have access to the first 25 or so minutes of practice, so we're not seeing any team drills. We also don't have any access to Robert Saleh, the head coach, today. We get the coordinators, but the offense coordinator was prior to practice. All of a sudden, late afternoon, we get a practice report update saying that Mike White was limited after being a full participant yesterday. So that tells us that, maybe he either aggravated the ribs in practice today, or maybe he just hasn't been right all week, and which raises the question about whether he should have been playing in Seattle on Sunday, where he clearly looked compromised. Mike is a pretty accurate thrower of the ball, and he completed 50% of his passes on Sunday in Seattle, which was and missed a lot of receivers, which is uncharacteristic, even for the short amount of time he's played. So there certainly are some flags raised, and the latest flag raised was the fact that he was not made available to reporters in the locker room after practice today. And Thursday is always the quote unquote quarterback day. Whomever the starting quarterback is made available. So, and no, we asked for some updates and some explanation through the Jets media relations people, and they just said they weren't going to be able to know anything until tomorrow when Robert Saleh is available, being Friday morning. So here we sit with another potential cloudy quarterback situation. If I'm reading the tea leaves correctly right now, it's very possible that Joe Flacco, ironically, will be starting the Jets season finale when he started the season opener, which was supposed to be started by Zach Wilson, but he had a knee injury from preseason. So it's just round and round we go with this thing. The Jet quarterback situation, obviously going forward, not just this Sunday, is a mess. And as we can talk about in a moment, the Jets offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur today, had some revealing comments to say about Zach Wilson. First real admission to the potential possibility of the Jets just handling Zach Wilson incorrectly, beginning with his rookie year last year. Well, let's start at the top. It's pretty clear from what we've seen in 2 years, and it's been 22 starts for him, that it looks like the Jets looks like Joe Douglas and his scouts and Robert Saleh made a mistake in drafting Zach at number 2 overall last year. Now there is a resolute stance that Saleh has been taking, that they are not giving up on Zach, and that he's used the word the other day, "come hell or high water," is what Robert said, and LaFleur echoed today that they're going to get Zach right. The complication there is, they're going to go into year 3 next year. Now, the Jets have made some very good progress the last 2 years. You can't argue that they have not made progress from Saleh's first year to this year, and even in this second year as he heads to his third year. But the bottom line is the way the NFL is set up right now, and with the talent the Jets have brought on board, aside from the quarterback, that there's going to be at least a tacit playoff mandate next year. Is Robert Saleh going to rest his head coaching fate on a guy in Zach Wilson as a starter next year, who has been pretty awful for 2 years? So that's hard to see. It's impossible for me not to think that they're going to bring a veteran player in this year, whomever that may be. Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe a Carr. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to unfold and what the other teams are going to do with their guys. But the Jets can't go in without a safety net, and throw Zach Wilson on a tightrope, so to speak, to use that analogy, and which is just going to place Saleh and his staff in potential peril next year. So people really want LaFleur. I mean, listen, the Jet fans are angry right now. The Jets have lost 5 in a row. I get it. It's been a bad run, and frankly, it's been quarterback driven. If they had a competent quarterback, they'd be in the playoff. They'd already have a playoff spot sewn up right now, in my opinion. I think it's hard to argue against that. So everybody wants a pound of flesh. That pound of flesh right now seems to be LaFleur. I just can't see Saleh going anywhere. If the Jets fired Saleh, they'd be idiots. I mean, this guy's a proper, organized, motivating head coach who's made some mistakes as a 2-year guy. but the positives so far outweigh the negatives. I don't think that LaFleur should be let go, in my opinion. I think LaFleur has been a victim of having a difficult quarterback situation. And I'm not trying to make excuses for him. It's been up to him to make Zach better too. So that's on him. And he came out today. LaFleur, if nothing else, has been extremely accountable. And I mean, every time we speak to him, he talks about how it starts with him. And he said today, also very revealing, is essentially, if I'm paraphrasing, he says they've not developed Zach as well as they should have, and that's on him. So he's falling on the sword, but it's, at the bottom line is Zach Wilson ever going to be good enough? I don't know. I get it that he's got raw talent. I get it, but we don't really know. And I think that LaFleur has shown himself to be a pretty good play caller when he's had good quarterbacks, when he's had even moderate quarterbacks. I mean, Josh Johnson last year threw 300 yards in Indianapolis, and he's been on about 35 teams, and there's not even that many in the league. So, Flacco was slinging it around earlier in the year, right? And White, when he was healthy, was slinging it around. So I'd be hesitant to throw out, the baby with the bathwater. I think is an analogy that Robert Saleh has used. Saleh does not want to fire him. It's pretty clear if Mike LaFleur is let go, it's coming from above Saleh, and that means the owner. And I don't like to see the owner getting involved in personnel and coaching decisions at that level. So we'll see what happens with it, but it's a very complicated situation still to be determined. But, we sit here, of course, with one game to play, and the quarterback situation, even in this micro situation of Jets Miami on Sunday, still unsettled, which is par for the course. I think they're going to keep him. But I also think they're going to bring a veteran in. I think they're going to try to keep developing him. Listen, no general manager want to get, after 2 years, give up on the guy that they used, a second overall pick for. I mean, the Arizona Cardinals did it with Josh Rosen a few years ago when they had a chance to get Kyler Murray. I get it, but that was a bit of an outlier. I do believe the Jets sees potential in Zach. Whether they can get it out of him, I just don't know. I know I hear Robert using the word how much it means to him, how important football is to him, how hard he works. And I've heard LaFleur say that too. And I don't have a read on whether they're just trying to protect him or whether he really needs to work on all of those things, because I do know, and this is media relations wise, and which has nothing to do with, really what takes place on the football field, but there's just something off with Zach. I don't really know. I know we've tried to, myself and colleagues have tried to get with him, and he clearly says, "Well, I'm not going to talk while I'm not playing. I'm only going to do, what's required, the bare minimum." The NFL has certain guidelines, and I just don't like that. I don't like that attitude, and I think he's caught up in the social media game with, I think he lumps the writers in, that he sees every day to the Jet fans and the people that are blogging from their mother's basement, as, who are criticizing him we're all being lumped into that. And I just think that's a mistake. I don't think he's been guided well enough. He's coming from a place at BYU where there's probably 3 writers that covered him, and all of them were saluting him as as a hero. So he's not been used to being criticized, and he's also a baby. I mean, I don't mean that like a baby, like a child. He's just a young guy, in the league who's trying to figure it out. Getting back to your original question, I do think he's going to be back. I mean, what in the world are the Jets going to get in trade value for him? Honestly, I mean, the guy is broken right now. You know what I'm saying? And all you're trading him on is potential. And I'm sure there's some teams out there that liked him in the draft, but they've also seen what's gone on for the last 2 years, and they're trading for damaged goods to a large degree. So I think that his best place, frankly, is particularly as long as LaFleur stays here, is to stay in the system and continue to try to grow and salvage. I think the Jets just got to keep him in the system and hope that they can develop him more. Have a veteran come in next year. This team's ready to win now. I mean, this defense is good. I get it. It's been criticized and justifiably so. for the last month or so when the team has struggled. But at the end of the day, it's still not like they're getting lit up. I think the defense is getting broken because the offense can't score a touchdown. That's the way I see it. Bottom line is they have too much talent not to be in the playoffs right now, in my opinion. And I get it, Brees Hall going down and AVT on the offensive line, which is the best offensive lineman, going down in the same game in Denver. That was a crusher for them. But even with those injuries, this is a playoff worthy team. But they just don't have a quarterback. So there's no other thing that's important from here forth than figuring out who's going to be their quarterback in 23.